This is a bright side of the sky reflection for the week of Monday, May 11th to Sunday, May 17th. My name is Julianne. Welcome to Bright Side Astrology. My astrological practice is all about you deciding your interpretation, and these videos are here just to show you mine. So the first question I want to ask is, what is your week looking like? I'm not really here to tell you what's happening in your life. I'm here to maybe give you some new words that might resonate. I have a Venus and a Mars in Gemini after all, so we are preparing for something to restart this weekend. What exactly is restarting? Well, it is your capacity to successfully and reliably resource your life. What that means is most of this week before Saturday is actually kind of a behind the scenes preparation for this Saturday restart. But first, how did we even get to this restart moment? Well, I think it's thanks to this huge cycle of healing that we've just come through and are ending. And part of that has also been a relationship that we are now this week taking the next step to deepen in. All right, so the astrological context here, of course, I'm talking about the new moon in Taurus that perfects on Saturday afternoon EST. So this new moon marks the completion of the previous lunar cycle, which was, as I said, a huge healing cycle with the Aries new moon conjunct Chiron, and a Scorpio full moon that Aries new moon grew into. The relationship that we've been exploring till now is marked by Venus and Mars, who are finally making their first aspect to each other, which is a sextile, since their conjunction in January. The day after this new moon on Saturday, so Sunday, we will have Mercury shifting into its home sign of Gemini, making a conjunction to Uranus, and this will suddenly really have us wanting to talk about all this new growth that we are entering. On Monday, the moon moves through Pisces, and we're tuning into our creativity, honing in on the vision that we are materializing by this weekend. Mercury in Taurus makes a sextile to the moon and Jupiter, and we really are able to communicate something materially important about the creative dream that we are planning for, still in the dark of this cycle on Monday. On Tuesday, the moon moves through the rest of Pisces, and by 8 p.m. it will enter Aries. So very early that day on Tuesday, we will be seeing that last quarter sextile between the sun and the moon, which essentially reflects the last opportunity within the Aries Chiron cycle, the last opportunity within this time to really harmoniously synthesize our personal dreams and inspiration with the material world around us, and actually put both of our feet into that world and share it. On Tuesday, we also have a Mercury-Jupiter last quarter sextile, which is a significantly harmonious moment of our linear and nonlinear minds communicating easily with each other. And what that is creating an opportunity to deepen in our emotional wisdom through actually clearly articulating what is true for us in our values. So then, big shift by Wednesday, because the moon is in Aries all day and has us really physically preparing something hidden or behind the scenes still. We're very much so taking action on Wednesday, but that action is on the dreams and the vision we're planning for Monday and Tuesday. That Aries full moon will pass the sensitive 5-degree mark, which sextiles Pluto and Uranus. This passage is a huge activation of the major opportunity that we've stepped into over the last several months, as that major opportunity only continues to build momentously towards its peak in August, with Jupiter entering Leo, completing a grand sextile. On Thursday, the moon is still in Aries most of the day and passes a sensitive Mars Chiron point. Mars is the planet of our free will and our impulse, on its way to meet Chiron, which is the planet of our utmost sensitivities. And that Chiron place is where we can feel chronically wounded in our sense of self. The moon making a conjunction to the Mars Chiron near conjunction will tune us into exactly where we've seen inaction, fear, or existential threat get in the way of our dreams over the last several years. But really, this is exactly where we've been able to get ourselves out of that blockage, albeit only very recently. So finally, on Thursday, Mercury in Taurus makes a conjunction to the sun in Taurus, and that really marks this moment where our minds and our entire beings are able to align and communicate, right? Our minds are in line with our hearts. Later on Thursday, the moon will finally move into Taurus, and this now very, very dark moon takes us deeper into a sensory experience and reflection that is really only for ourselves now. We're still acting and seeming to go deeper and deeper at the same time. So by Friday, that moon is really fully in Taurus now, and we are really deeply pulled into our sense of self resource. However, that is restarting. A very important relationship transit is also now starting to make itself known, what I had mentioned, the Venus Mars first quarter sextile. So this speaks to choosing a relationship that we've only begun exploring since January. And taking the next step in that relationship, all it really means is to really narrow down and study it and not really consider anything else. So this is also obviously about how you're relating to yourself and going all in on the work that you're doing now. So because Mars is so close to Chiron at this time, there might be an element of that chronic woundedness that you've just come through healing that is also very present in this relationship or in this moment of deepening in your relationship with yourself, probably both. Saturday evenings, new moon, coincides with that incredible exact activation of the healing impulse that propelled us into the precipice where we are now, with Mars passing its exact conjunction to Chiron at the late degrees of Aries. All right, there is again some activation in our renewed, healed sense of self that we are also now growing more sustainably from, since the new moon on Saturday, and likely a new relationship that began in January has something to do with this, thanks to that Venus Mars sextile. All right, and the week we have Sunday with the moon entering Gemini, followed by Mercury, and both joining Uranus. So on Sunday, we are really beginning to talk and exchange this fresh feeling about what we are doing, what we are revolutionizing in our minds. And so that moon will also make a trine to Pluto, which gives us a more personal understanding and truly an emotional activation of how our minds are changing and then how our communities are changing in kind. Okay, so here's how I'm going to translate all of this. Most of this week, we are in the process of surrendering, as I said, the last month of work that we've done to heal ourselves with that Aries conjunct Chiron new moon. Quite literally plunging into the darkest recesses of what we've been avoiding and finally walking through that door at the Scorpio full moon. We stopped letting chronic pain hold us back, physically or emotionally. But that really took a lot of effort in pushing ourselves further and further into the future, where we would have previously turned the towel in and said, okay, this is too hard, I'm going home. This time, we stayed and we moved forward after looking squarely at some hard truths and deciding to act differently in accordance with them. We made subtle shift, nothing crazy. Okay, so we were able to get this rebirthed or internal state because of how intense this last cycle was, this very delicate intention where we actually could heal this very chronically wounded sense of self. And that intention grew into that huge emotional and financial portal of the Scorpio full moon that we have not been wanting to walk through for a very long time, likely many years. And now at the end of this cycle, that's what we're feeling this week. We realize we've walked through that door. We can't go back, and we are ready to start building this weekend, truly based on the values that we've been ironing out actually for the last 7 years. Okay, so I want you to think back to around May of 2018, and what were you trying to start back then that essentially you've been unsuccessful in fully landing until now. So the ground we will find success finally in now, that's a Taurus archetype. And on Saturday, we're having that new moon in Taurus, the first one since Uranus has left Taurus. So at this point, an interesting question I like to think about is, what is the peak of this new simple intention new moon? And that happens on May 31st. Well, when the material world is finally responding in a predictable way to our actions and our intentions, our faith in the national order of things and our faith in our own emotional responses can be made visible. This emergence of faith at the end of this month of May is reflected astrologically by that full moon in Sagittarius, which will be ruled by Jupiter in Cancer. So that's what we are starting to build towards from Saturday, is a greater understanding of our own faith. Okay, because this material-focused new moon grows into that strong, faith-based full moon in Sagittarius, think about your faith as you prepare for this new beginning. Is it your choice to resist these energies or to let them flow? Don't judge either, because we really need both. If you are compelled to resist, ask yourself this: what am I consolidating energetically by not giving into this? Opposite, if you are walking into it, ask yourself, what am I giving to this situation that I have been consolidating till now? Trust where you are at and remove any moral implications with your decisions and intentions at this time. So, what are you restarting this weekend? And really, what pain and healing did you have to walk through in the last month to get here? If this perspective has landed for you, I very cordially invite you to join me in any of my sessions. I offer 3 types: individual deep dives, an introductory group session, and actually also a specialty workshop for artists. All right. So, group sessions are really wonderful because you get the opportunity to share your own interpretation, hear mine, and also contextualize all of that based on hearing 2 other people's interpretations, as 3 people each get 30 minutes in an hour and a half group reading together. So I'm actually looking for 2 more people to join my next group on May 26th at 6:30 p.m. EST. Check the link below. Individual sessions, of course, have a much more limitless potential, and we have about an hour and a half to deep dive into your natal patterning. And I can also support the astrology by drawing a tarot card, and I also sometimes pull up astrocartography. This month, I'm doing Wednesday evenings and Sunday mornings, so do check out my availability. And finally, this Astrology for Artists workshop is happening on May 30th, and this is really an excellent place to meet other artists in a very small, intimate setting in order to decode your creative practice so that you can eventually recode it for yourself. All right. And so I'm looking for 3 more people to join that on May 30th. And finally, for a limited time, I have a few 15-minute just free chats open if you want to just say hi and check if we would be a good fit to work together. So thank you for watching. Please let me know how you are until the next one. Bye for now.